The colonel laughed at a black girl's request to use the shooting range. She broke everything they knew. Beginning. The training base on Titan's surface was alive with the sound of drills, power packs charging, and the metallic clatter of rifles being cleaned. Soldiers in pale gray exosuits marched in formation across the ice-field yard, while overseers barked orders. The year was 2147, and Earth's United Defense Coalition had opened its gates to anyone willing to defend humanity's outer colonies. But Titan was no ordinary base. It was where Earth's best marksmen were sent to refine their skills against simulated alien incursions. It was a proving ground for soldiers who would stand on the front lines of interstellar wars. Only the strongest made it past the first few months. A slender figure walked across the ice-paved road toward the central armory building. She wore the simple cadet's uniform, plain, without badges, without stripes, but her walk was steady, almost too confident for someone unranked. Her name was Amara Briggs, 19 years old, fresh from the slums of New Chicago. Her skin was dark, her hair tied neatly back, and her eyes carried the quiet fire of someone who had lived too long underestimated. Inside the armory, a crowd of soldiers gathered around the shooting range's transparent blast wall. They were practicing with X-7 plasma rifles, the Coalition's standard weapon. The rifles were heavy, brutal machines meant for armored hands and steady nerves. At the far end stood Colonel Rourke, a broad-shouldered veteran with graying hair, scars across his jaw, and a voice that could crack glass. He commanded Titan's training range with iron authority. Amara stepped forward, cleared her throat, and said evenly, "Colonel, I'd like permission to use the shooting range." The silence that followed was sharp. Dozens of soldiers turned their heads. A girl barely out of childhood, and black at that, in a system where prejudice, though outlawed, still ran deep in the corners of military culture. The colonel's lips curled into a smirk before he broke into outright laughter. "You," he barked, pointing at her as if she had made a joke. "You want to handle an X7? Girl, that rifle weighs more than you do. This isn't some playground game. Get back to cleaning barracks." A ripple of chuckles spread among the troops. Some shook their heads. Others whispered under their breath. But Amara didn't flinch. She kept her gaze on the colonel. "I didn't ask if it was a game. I asked for permission." The colonel laughed harder, clapping one hand against his thigh. "You've got guts, I'll give you that. But guts don't win wars. Skill does. And skill comes from strength, discipline, and blood. You think you've got that? Prove it. Pick up the rifle." He tossed an X-7 toward her. The weapon clattered to the ground at her feet with a heavy thud. Middle. Amara crouched, gripped the plasma rifle, and, surprising everyone, lifted it without struggle. She checked the safety, primed the charge pack, and stepped into the shooting stall as though she had done it 1,000 times before. The colonel's grin faded slightly. He leaned forward, arms crossed. "Lucky grip. Let's see you actually hit something." The range lit up with hollow targets. Spherical drones hovering at different distances, darting unpredictably in the simulated Titan wind. Most recruits struggled to hit even half of them their first time. Amara steadied her breath. Her mind replayed memories of New Chicago's underground ranges. Her uncle had been part of a resistance gang before the Coalition absorbed the city. She had learned to shoot salvage weapons at the age of 11, not for fun but for survival. Bullets had been her lullabies, and aiming was as natural to her as breathing. She squeezed the trigger. Ziarke. The plasma bolt tore through the first drone. It fell in sparks. Before anyone could react, another bolt sliced a second, then a third. Her movements were smooth, efficient, and unnervingly calm. One by one, every target exploded in a rain of shattered light. Even the distant, high-speed drone, barely a flicker to the naked eye, fell with a single, precise shot. The entire room went silent. The hum of the plasma coil still echoed, but no one dared laugh now. Amara lowered the rifle, switched on the safety, and set it gently on the rack. Then she turned to the colonel. "You were saying, sir?" The colonel's jaw clenched. For the first time in years, someone had embarrassed him in front of his own soldiers. His pride boiled, but he masked it with a cold glare. "Beginner's luck," he growled. "Anyone can hit targets. Let's see how you do against a live simulation." He barked an order, and the range's hollow walls shimmered to life. The targets transformed into alien combatants, Krythak marauders, towering reptilian figures with thick armor and jagged blades. The simulation was designed to overwhelm recruits, forcing them to retreat or fail. "Survive 5 minutes," Rourke said, "and maybe I'll call you a soldier." The simulation began. The Krythak charged. Amara moved like water. Her body ducked, pivoted, and flowed between cover points. Plasma bolts erupted from her rifle, each one finding its mark. Unlike most recruits, she didn't panic fire. She picked her shots carefully, aiming for weak points. The joints, the exposed neck plates, the glowing energy packs on their backs. Soldiers watching from behind the blast wall murmured in disbelief. She's not missing. She's calculating every shot. That's impossible. Even Rourke struggles on that setting. Minutes passed, but Amara wasn't slowing. Instead, she adapted, using fallen hollow weapons, dual-wielding for brief bursts, switching seamlessly between assault fire and sniper precision. When the 5-minute timer ended, every Krythak projection lay in smoking fragments. Not a single one had touched her. The simulation shut down, leaving her standing alone in the quiet range. Her chest rose and fell steadily, but her face remained calm. The colonel stared at her. His fists were clenched at his sides. "You," he almost spat the word, "are not standard issue." Amara tilted her head. "No, sir. I'm better." Gasps rippled through the recruits. A cadet speaking to a colonel like that? Suicidal. But there was no arrogance in her tone, only certainty. Rourke studied her for a long, tense moment. Finally, he let out a rough laugh, not mocking this time, but grudgingly impressed. "All right, girl. You've got teeth. But don't think this makes you special. Out there," he pointed toward the dome, where Saturn loomed in the sky. "Out there, the enemy doesn't care about your pride. They'll crush you if you slip once." Amara nodded. "Then I won't slip." Escalation. Word spread across Titan Base like wildfire. The girl who had silenced the colonel. The girl who broke the range's top simulation. Some admired her. Others despised her, whispering that she had embarrassed Earth's finest. But Rourke wasn't done testing her. 2 weeks later, during a large-scale war simulation exercise, he deliberately placed her squad at the front lines with minimal support. The test was brutal. 3 squads against a battalion of hollow Krythak, with limited ammunition. Most commanders expected heavy losses. Amara took command, not because she was given authority, but because the others instinctively followed her confidence. She directed crossfire zones, set ambush traps, and conserved resources. Hours later, when the exercise ended, her squad was the only one still standing with 0 simulated casualties. Even Rourke couldn't deny it anymore. "You've proven yourself," he said quietly after the drill, watching her from across the mess hall. "But you've also painted a target on your back. Some of these soldiers won't forgive you for showing them up." Amara met his gaze, her voice steady. "That's their problem. I didn't come here to be liked. I came here to fight." Ending. The true test came sooner than anyone expected. Titan Base's alarms blared one frozen midnight. Not a drill this time. Not a simulation. A real Krythak raiding party had breached the colony's perimeter defenses. Panic rippled through the barracks. Soldiers scrambled into exosuits. Officers barked orders. And the sky above Titan lit up with the glow of alien dropships. Colonel Rourke armed himself and turned to his troops. But before he could speak, Amara stepped forward, rifle in hand. "Orders, sir?" she asked. He hesitated, then gave her a curt nod. "With me." The battle was chaos. Krythak warriors crashed through defenses, their energy blades cutting through steel. Plasma fire lit the frozen plains. Soldiers fell. The enemy pressed harder. But wherever Amara went, the tide shifted. She cut through the enemy with uncanny precision, her squad rallying around her as if she were born for command. Her shots disabled enemy leaders, broke charging waves, and gave soldiers a chance to regroup. At one critical moment, when a Krythak warlord broke through the defense line and charged straight toward Rourke, it was Amara who stood in his way. She fired once, twice, 3 times, each shot striking the warlord's weak points until the beast collapsed at the colonel's feet. Silence followed, broken only by the crackle of plasma smoke. The soldiers stared, awestruck. Colonel Rourke finally looked at her. Not as a girl, not as a recruit, but as a soldier who had saved them all. "You just saved this base," he admitted, his gruff voice softer than anyone had ever heard. "And you saved me." Amara lowered her rifle, breathing hard. "Next time, sir," she said with a faint, tired smile. "Maybe don't laugh before you see what someone can do." For the first time, the colonel didn't laugh. He simply saluted. And the soldiers of Titan Base, every single one, followed his lead. Amara Briggs, the girl the colonel once mocked, had broken not just records, but a prejudice endowed an entire outpost. From that day forward, they no longer whispered about her behind her back. They called her the sharpshooter of Titan.